I knew something was off by how you didn't even like see us.
I trip. I hit one of these routes because I'm going fast, and I slam. And because of my mindset through that lap, I let myself just fall apart. My head, it was like I went to like Viking mode. Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Path to Iron podcast. My name is Bobby, and this is my wife,
Christy.
So for the first episode, we're going to be doing a race recap of my first ultra marathon, the 50 miler at the Tesla Hertz run over in Rocky Point. After this, we're going to have a ton more content, triathlon related, mindset related, ultra running related, and a bunch more stuff. So keep an eye out for that. If you do find this episode interesting, definitely subscribe because there's going to be a lot more to come. But yeah, for today, race recap. What do you think? What should we start with?
The fact that you're still in one piece, you didn't break anything. That was the most important.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, this is the first time you're watching this. I had been slacking off for probably about a year and a half in all my fitness endeavors, but specifically running. And I had only run 57.9 miles in all of 2022. And then in the first week of August, decided that I needed to step it up. And I've been wanting to do an ultra marathon. And I said, enough's enough. So I signed up for the Tesla Hertz 50 miler. And that gave me just over 8 weeks to train. So it was very, very interesting. There's a bunch of other videos talking about the pre-stuff. But yeah. So made it through in one piece.
Yeah. Why don't you talk about the week before? Because that obviously did not completely go as planned. You were a little more sick than I was, but we both had some kind of a cold or something leading up to it.
I don't know, too. It might have been because you started taking Zyrtec, too, right?
I stopped, though, because I don't know if it was
I don't know if it was allergies.
It was a mix. It definitely was.
What it was.
Yeah.
I mean, my allergies are definitely still bothering me in the morning and at night, so that's why I think it was allergies. But yeah, like Christy's saying, I would say Monday or Tuesday, I started just feeling like run down. I started feeling really like nasally, like very hard to breathe. Like it was not the way I wanted to start off my final taper, my little short taper right before the run. So that was pretty rough. Even mentally, there was a couple points where I would find myself starting to get a little frustrated because I'm like, I just did all this work for all these weeks. I got through it, no injuries, no sicknesses. I mean, everything worked fairly smooth. And I'm like, now all I have to do is recover, and now I'm sick, or whatever it was. But luckily, it was like the day before the race where it was like I had no more, like that night before I was starting to feel like everything was like done, and I wasn't really feeling anything. So the morning of the race, I woke up and I felt perfect.
Yeah, I didn't notice it that day. You seemed totally okay.
Yeah, and luckily it wasn't like anything chest related, so that helped too. But yeah, so then it was race day essentially. So that morning I went there myself, drove out there, and then you came later on in the day.
Yep, I came with my parents.
So morning of, ate my usual pre-race breakfast, had a cup of coffee. Luckily, was able to use the bathroom, which is one of my like least favorite things about any race day. Because I work a lot of night shifts, most of my days tend to start a little later, like 8 o'clock in the morning, and have to wake up super, super early, get food in, and use the bathroom before race start, which was at 7. I just hate that idea of like, I have to make sure I can use the bathroom before a race. It's just probably the thing that gives me the most anxiety before a race.
What time did you wake up? I actually don't even know.
I don't remember. I want to say I woke up at 3:34.
Because you had to leave here by what?
I had to leave here. No, I had to be there at 6 because race check-in is actually the day of the race, an hour before your actual start time. So I had to leave here at like 5:15. So I think I got up at 4. Pretty sure I got up at 4. Got up, everything went smooth. Packed up the car, drove out there. It was wet morning because it had been raining, and yeah, got out there. It was dark, wet, a little chilly. So main focus was keeping everything dry, especially my feet. I obviously didn't have my socks or anything. I really wasn't dressed yet. Just had my shorts on. So it was really just a matter of, all right, get everything all set up. And the one interesting thing was, while I was trying to like get ready and everything, I guess I lost track of time, and I'm like lacing up my shoes thinking I have plenty of time, and they're like getting ready to start. So I actually started like maybe a minute after everybody else actually started.
Yeah, your time on that. I think that tracker was a little inaccurate of the actual
Well, it wasn't
times.
a chip tracker.
Yeah, but it said you started at 7:02.
Yeah, but everybody I think started at that time. Yeah, because it was just off. Everybody started together.
Yeah.
And if I would have started 10 minutes later, it would have still said 7:02. It was just that race. Everybody's start time should have been, I believe, the same. Mm-hmm. Unless somebody saw me start later and actually wrote it down. But I wasn't looking to win it, so it wasn't really a big deal for me. Mm-hmm. And then that was it. Off to the start of the race. What was the morning like for you?
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't like that you were like just there by yourself, but we do have Kona at home, the dog.
Yeah, and you didn't want to bring him, and like
yeah,
have to
I didn't know what it was
going
to be like, so I was afraid to bring him and like have to worry about you and if you needed help. And he's still young, so
he's less than a year. He's
a
little over a year.
Yeah, he'd be too excited with all people around and everything. So I was a little too nervous to bring him. So I wanted to make sure that he had a little bit of a morning out of the crate, ate, went to the bathroom and everything. So I feel like I left here at like 9:30, I want to say, with my parents.
Okay.
Because I figured that would be better. I drove with them, and then we could drive home just in case you couldn't drive. That was my biggest thing. I didn't want to have two cars out there. I was like, what if he can't drive home? So my parents were luckily able to drive me. But I think I had a different kind of, going back to what you said about how it felt like a different feel, like the Ironman, like when you did the Ironman,
mm-hmm.
The only thing that worried me was the ocean. That was the only thing that scared me was the swim, like you swimming in open water. This, I felt like the whole day I was going to be nervous because you've never done anything like it. You never even ran a marathon. Like there was just so many like
factors that were
there. And like you're running in a trail. I'm like, he could like fall and hit his head and nobody's going to know.
That happened to that one woman.
Yes.
She got a concussion.
Like that was like right around when I first got there too. Right. So I'm like, oh my God. I heard like some runner came out of the trail and they were like, they went up to one of the workers and they said, I saw a lady, and like, this is terrible. And I'm like, oh, thank God, lady. But because I knew it wasn't you, but still, it's still so scary.
Yeah.
And he said, I saw a lady around whatever mile, and she looked like she hit her head. She didn't really know where she was. Like, she seemed a little incoherent. I think she has a concussion. And it's that part is scary because it's like nobody's going to know about that person being hurt until a runner finally comes out and tells somebody. You know what I mean? So that's like a little, because it's in the trails. Like, nobody really knows.
I mean, luckily it's a smaller loop, so it's really not that.
But they had to go in there, drive, and find them. So, and I never.
No, I didn't know if they didn't drive. And they
said they were going to. They I don't know if they have a separate, like a little.
Oh yeah, there's pathways through.
So like maybe that's what they did.
That I guess they have. Mm-hmm. So maybe they did that. But it's funny because when you said that, I saw the race director running out towards the trail because of that. And I remember, I think I asked him, is everything all right? And he said, oh, I think somebody fell and hit their head or something. I think is what he said.
And I still feel bad. I never got to find out if they were okay. So I hope you're okay.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if it would have been really bad, they would have posted something about it. So I think she ended up being all right because there was nothing really posted about it. So.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that added to my overall nervousness and anxiety about you, and just so I think that feeling definitely all morning was just nervous.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me it was funny because I wasn't really that nervous, and part of it was I was breaking it down in my head where I was just, my main concern was the first 3 loops, because I looked at it as my last training one was 26 miles. So in my head, it was like, well, if I did another week of training, my run would have probably been 30 miles the next week. And my mileage kept increasing. So my thought was, all right, the first 3 laps is like a training run, But the nice thing is I've actually rested this whole week, pretty much, besides like 2 shakeout runs. So I was like, this is actually going to be just the training run the first 3 laps. I'll focus on that. And then the last 2 laps, this is the loop course, that's going to be like my, all right, now this is where the race really happens. This is me breaking into that territory that I haven't gone before, and I'm not really sure what it's going to be like. But that was like, I'll worry about that when I got there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so again, it was a loop course. So I started a little late. And I guess to walk through the first loop, I got out there. And one of the first things that I was like a little concerned about, I mean, it's a fairly well-marked course, but everybody went out together. So like everybody's kind of trekking through their first lap together. And my original thought was, I'll get the first lap down with a bigger group because everyone's going to be a little more bunched up. It's going to be very easy to navigate the trail because we're all doing it together. And then as the field starts to spread out, now my second loop, I would have done this before. So it's going to be very, I won't get lost. And I'm like going out and I'm running and I'm kind of by myself and I'm like looking for the tree markings because there were blue and red tree markings, blue on the way out, red on the way back, and then there were pink flags kind of put in the ground. But again, this was my first time running this course, and I was kind of by myself in the first loop. So at first, I was definitely a little nervous, like just pay attention, don't make a mistake and go off the trail and end up getting lost or running much more than you really need to. Then I finally did catch up to some people, and because I had started later, I was like kind of working my way up through a couple people until I want to say, if I had to guess, it was somewhere within the first 2 to 3 miles. I ended up finding there was a woman in front of me who seemed to be running a similar pace to me at the time, which my plan was the first loop to go out very, very slow because I feel like everybody who does their first ultra goes out way too hard and they always regret it. So I was very conscious about that. So I was probably running around a 12-minute per mile pace. This woman seemed to be doing about that, and I kind of just stayed maybe like 10 feet behind her all the way into the first aid station. And that was kind of like my first loop. Now, were you watching the tracker? Did you see when I made it to the first aid station?
Yeah, you also texted me. Well, no, I guess you texted me.
I texted you
when
on the first loop.
That's who I think was off. Like what was it called? The Whiskey Road?
Whiskey Girl aid station?
Yes. So that was off because when you had texted me that you made it to the main aid station.
Start finish, yeah.
It was not that far off from the Whiskey Road one. Like it definitely was not right.
Like it said my time was the same?
It was like way too close for it to be accurate.
Huh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. And then
wait, so it essentially would said like, at 1 hour and 10 I was at Whiskey Girl, and then 1 hour and 20 I was at the main.
It was like way too close, and then
now did my text line up to
that was like
my
pretty
first
similar.
loop?
Yeah.
So when I texted you, it was similar to me making the full loop. So I guess the Whiskey Girl,
something was off with that one because then even later on, it was blank. So there was one point where we were waiting for you like longer than we thought it was going to be, and it never showed that you got to that aid station. So we were like,
see, that's weird. It must be the update. Because if you go to the actual website now, it shows all the times.
Yeah, so I don't know. That day, I think there was just something.
I'd be curious to see if it wasn't updating through the internet, maybe as fast or.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So thank God you texted me because.
You would have been all confused. Yeah. So in terms of the course, I guess on the first to give a quick that first half of the first loop. It's fairly mellow, not a lot of roots, not a lot of rocks, a few little just rolling little ups and downs. I wouldn't even call anything a hill. And then you cross over one point, a road, which is one of the big points I use mentally in my head to break it up into checkpoints. When you get towards that halfway point aid station, it kind of comes in where there's a singular trail up to the aid station and then back. So you're kind of the people leaving the aid station, people going to the aid station kind of cross paths. And that's the first section. Then the second section going back, that definitely gets a little more of a difficult part of the trail. There's one steep section. It's a very, very short hill, but it's a little steeper with a lot of like big rocks and loose ground. And then the same thing on the way down, loose ground, big rocks, some bigger like holes. And then after that, there's a lot of roots. And the way the canopy from just the forest is with the sunlight, it was very difficult to actually pick some of the roots out because of how much the shadowing was. And I think you guys even saw a lot of people stubbing their toes, falling down, tripping. It was definitely comical through that section with the lighting. But yeah, first loop, I just, again, took it really, really slow. At the halfway point is when I did decide to pass that woman and slowly pick up my pace a little bit. But first loop went very, very smooth. And yeah. Any questions you have for me about the first loop or anything?
No. You just remember you texted me, you felt good.
Yeah.
That one you were by yourself, obviously, when you came in. That was the only one.
Yeah. So I had pre-planned. I had like my nutrition, which I was using that G1M Sport from BPN. I had that in shaker bottles. I had 2, so I could get through the first 3 loops without having to like shake anything up. It was like all just fill up my bottles and go. And then I had honey stingers that I just swapped out and put in there. So I was basically taking a gulp every mile of the G1M, and then I was every hour eating one of the honey stinger waffles, which was doing fairly well. So first loop, fairly slow for what my overall plan was, but partly also in my head was I really was thinking like I wanted to break 10 hours. I didn't start thinking about that until probably later, but after that first loop, I was like, okay, that was a real easy, slow loop. Like I could start picking up the pace a little bit more. Yeah, so then basically swapped my nutrition and went out on loop 2. Loop 2, fairly simple. I just picked up the pace a little bit more. The field started opening up a little bit, so I wasn't getting bunched up with as many people. That was the one interesting thing, though. I guess because I started a little bit behind everybody and everybody got a few minutes out ahead of me, I ended up where I was kind of laddering through people in front of me more throughout most of the race versus the opposite where like everybody's kind of like shuffling, finding, some people passing, some people going up. Like anybody who's that much faster than me was kind of like gone ahead of me. Which actually probably was mentally nice to see that there weren't people like that kept passing me or people like going off in distance. For the most part, because I started behind the pack, I was kind of like passing people for the most part until I got into a point where I found, I guess, my group that was in a similar zone as me. And then you also have a lot of the 100, 150 milers out there, which they're moving a lot slower, most of them. So it just, it was nice to not be, I think I got passed 3-4 times maybe by somebody. So it was nice to not feel that like somebody constantly passing me mentally. What else? So loop 2 went good. Everything went real, real smooth. And I got into the aid station. You guys were not there yet, right? Second time the second time you were there?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay, you're right. That's the other thing. I was
going to say, the first one I knew was the only one that you were that I was alone. Yeah.
So that was the other thing I would say, too, is I was very, like, even like when we were talking about the race, a lot of it does feel like kind of like a blur. Mm-hmm. Part of it was I was not looking at my miles. Like it was on my watch, but I was being very conscious of just like ignoring it. And I was really focusing on the loop and sections of the trail, whether it be the road crossings, out and back, the aid station, the hill that was there, or like just other points. There was a couple like small spots on the trail that like looked very different, whether type of trees or whatever it was. And I was kind of using those as points to say, all right, now I have to get here, now I have to get here, now I have to get here. And then after the loop was completed, like, okay, this is now loop. We're at this point. This is loop 2. Now I'm going to that third loop. This is like the last of that like training run in my mind.
Right, yeah.
So get into so now this finishing up my second loop. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect you guys to actually be there, to be honest. I really thought that nobody was going to be there probably my third loop. Mm-hmm. That was great. Your parents, it was so nice to see them. both your mom and your dad, your sister and our brother-in-law, Jenna and John were there, and then the 3 kids.
Yeah.
That really lifted my spirits,
Mm-hmm.
especially the kids, because there was just like so much going on, but you could tell like they were actually like interested.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool, especially
which they
Jules.
like just made it like to like going into a little bit like for me getting there. If I didn't have my parents, I probably would have been like crying because it was definitely confusing as somebody that's never been to like an event like that.
Okay.
If my dad wasn't there, I would have had no idea where to go. So, like where you enter, they put like those flags and like those colorful flags, like where you enter
like from the road.
From the road.
Okay, so not like from like the road to there's that little parking lot, and then there's a trail to the aid station,
right.
The start finish. Okay.
They fell. So there was like nothing there, but my dad was smart enough to see the flags on the ground and be like, this is definitely it. But I'm like, if I was alone, I would have been like panicking, like, where do I go? Like, whatever. Yeah. So thank God I had them with me. But obviously it's hard for people that want to come and see you to kind of time out
when I'm going to be
exactly there. When to come. So I knew you were like around what time you were projected to probably come in, but I knew that was the only chance that they really had to see you. Otherwise, it would be another, couple of hours until you'd be back. So my sister and brother-in-law, obviously they have 3 kids. It takes a lot for them to get out of the house. So they were planning on leaving at a certain time. They probably left like 20, 30 minutes later than they wanted to leave. So I'm getting all nervous. Like they're going to drive all the way out here to try to see you and they're going to just miss you.
Yeah.
But it was literally like you came through and they were coming down like the entrance. And it was literally the exact minute.
Yeah.
And my sister was like running down like,
Jenna was
did we miss him? Did we miss him? Like she cared more than anybody.
Yeah,
she wanted to see you so bad.
Yeah.
So I think that it was like, it was exciting for all of us. And especially you, like it was everyone that was at the, I guess, entrance to the aid station, like right? That's what you call it, where you come through.
What do you mean?
Like when you finish the loop, like it's the entrance to
the start finish line.
Yeah, thank you. Oh my god, start finish line. Everyone that was there was for you. It was literally like me, my mom, my dad. It was everyone there.
Yeah, it was like cruise stations, but like not a lot of people had like people cheering. Yeah, it was just like cruise there.
So that I felt like excited then too.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, and it was like kind of. I mean, I came in, I was like getting to talk to the kids a little bit. It was nice to have you there to like now start crewing. Like we're like handing my bottles to you. And being able to eat while you filled the bottle and then like take a second. I was like talking to your dad, talk to the kids for a little bit, talking to you and like getting a chance to like just like it was cool too because I was like kind of just talking about what was going on. So it was a chance to like for me to like just take a second, take a step back and just see where I'm at. But it was also it's like that's one thing too. And from your perspective, it's like the aid stations like I was moving slow, but like for somebody who races these, I can only imagine with the crews what it's like. It's like a NASCAR pit crew where you like come in, you're just like boom, 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 boom. Like we were moving what felt fairly fast, but it was not fast.
It was just me. It
was just you, and I'm like handing you bottles, filling things up, like changing shirts, changing socks, things like that. Like trying to get myself situated.
But again, this was the first time I ever experienced anything like this, and even my parents though coming, they were like, if we knew it was going to be like this, we would have made a whole day out of it. They're like, we would have like had our like a little campsite. They would have helped. Like we would have brought food and drinks, but we didn't. Like I didn't even bring a chair. Like, I brought myself, and like that was it.
Yeah. So lessons learned.
Yeah. Next time
it was only a 50-miler, so it's not like we need a whole setup, but.
No, but we would have, like I said, like my parents would have probably stayed the whole day and made a whole day out of it if we kind of knew. Yeah. But I'm sure there'll be next time. So.
Oh, well, yes, definitely. So, but because I saw everybody, I definitely came out of the next lap hot. Like I was moving and my like spirits were up. I was planning on picking up my pace a little bit more again on the 3rd lap, but I was feeling great. That whole taper worked out perfectly. My legs felt fresh and I was moving. Like I think at some points I was running like 9, a couple sections. I was looking down quickly and it was like 9 minute per mile pace, 9:30, 10 minutes. Like I was moving a lot faster than the 11-ish to 12-ish per mile pace that I was planning on running. But I felt great. And like my heart, this is the other thing. I was really focused. Most of my pacing was done by my heart rate. So I was trying to keep my heart rate between 145 to 155-ish range. And my heart rate was fine. I was like sitting in like maybe a little higher on the 150s. And I just kept carrying through. So that lap went fast. You said, actually, my coach even said when I hit, because I guess that point was accurate when I got to that aid station, the marathon mark, which is at the Whiskey Girl aid station on the third loop. I was there fast, and you guys were kind of shocked. But yeah, so came in, and then this was partly my coaches saying that it's good to give yourself an opportunity to think, like, if I want to change my socks, or if I want to change a shirt, or if I want to do something, like, give yourself something to think about in the future to like work towards. So I said, like, on the third lap, I'm going to change my shirt because I was wearing a long sleeve. So I'm going to switch to a short sleeve. And then I was going to change my socks just to be safe. So I figured if I got through the first 3 laps on one pair of socks, I put a new fresh pair of socks on, I'd have no issues. So we came in. This was just you this time.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'd say my feet, I had one hot spot on my left big toe, like kind of on the inside of my, on the outside edge of my big toe. I think I tied that shoe a little loose, and my foot was shifting a little bit, so it got just like a little hot spot. So I changed my socks. I was using the Exoskin socks, which I will say when I talk about the end how I felt. Like, socks are amazing, and I'm now an ambassador for them. So if you're interested, reach out to me. On any form of social media. I'll give you all the information about them. And I also have a discount code to get you, I believe it's 15 or 20% off. One of those two, whatever. I'll get you the discount code and answer any questions you have. But the socks were phenomenal. So I just swapped them just to be safe. And then where that one little hot spot was, I took a little bit of Salty Britches, which is the anti-chafing, which I'm an affiliate for. There'll be a discount code and an affiliate link down below if you want to check that out. But put that on my toe, and that was it. Tightened my shoes up so my foot wasn't shifting as much, and never had another issue. So switched the socks, switched the shirt, which felt great to get a little long sleeve. You filled up my bowels and everything, but yeah, I took a lot longer than I thought it was going to.
I say that you took the longest on that,
and part of it was the socks and changing and everything, but I think I was talking a little bit more, and I went a lot slower than I wanted to.
Yeah, you still said you felt good though.
Mm-hmm.
You made me laugh, and you came in and you were like, "Oh, I just finished my first marathon." Like, you said it so nonchalantly, like, no big deal. I just did my first marathon.
Yeah, because the longest training run I had was 26 miles.
Yeah.
This 26.2 is marathon, so official marathon distance. Yeah, so went out on the now 4th loop, and I took a peek at my watch, and that's where it hit me, like within the first maybe like 500 feet of me leaving the aid station, where I'm like, I took way too long. Like, in the back of my mind, I was like, there's a chance I might be able to push and break a 10 hours, like sub 10 hours. At that point, I realized, like, there's no way. Because just to do it in general was going to be really, really tough. And what did I take? I might have even taken 15 minutes, maybe.
I think it was
a little over 15 minutes.
Yeah, I would say.
It was long. It was a long time. And so I started being more frustrated with that. Because I was frustrated, and I realized now, like, there's no way I'm making that mark, sub 10. Started running slower. So then I started seeing my pace going a lot slower than I wanted. So I was getting more frustrated. Then because I was getting frustrated and I was running slower, my stomach started bothering me. So I started focusing on that. And now my stomach's bothering me, my pace is slower, and I'm just mentally frustrated and aggravated with myself for taking so long. At this point, I started now just worrying, like, all right, just get to the next mark, which for me was going to be that road crossing. But because I was running so slow, it felt like it was taking forever for me to get there. And there was not a lot of landmarks in that first section to that road crossing. So now I'm getting more frustrated because I'm like, why is this taking me so long? This is insane. My pace is so slow. Like, I'm basically like, I'm falling apart.
Really in your head?
I was so in my head.
Yeah.
And then my stomach's bothering me. So I'm like, a couple points where I'm like, I stop for a second and I'm like I'm like farting because I'm like, my stomach's like all gurgly, and I'm like, so I'm stopping, which is slowing my pace even more. And I'm like, just completely frustrated. So then I said, I'm going to get to the aid station and try to like eat some pretzels and ginger ale, I said was what I was going to eat. And got to the aid station, ate the pretzels, ginger ale, but the same thing on the way back. I was just in my head, pace was slow. The landmarks I was working towards, it was just taking longer it was taking longer. So that was getting me more frustrated. And I tripped on a couple of rocks. The roots on the last section never fell, but like tripped a bunch of times, hit my toe pretty hard. That lap was just atrocious. It was like so bad. I ate up so much time between the aid station and between that lap because of taking too long and because of my mindset through that lap. I let myself just fall apart and ate up a lot of time. And even to this point, like, it's still a little frustrating to think like that only happened because I let my mind slip up and I like dropped the ball that night, and I let like this negative mindset kind of take over. So still a little frustrating. That's probably my biggest regret is that lap and that whole situation, how that went down. Now while this is all going down, you're at the aid station and my coach showed up.
Yes.
So Brad fam, that's my coaches, Ray and Danielle. Danielle came. So you guys are sitting there. What's going on while I'm out there pissed at myself?
I found a beach chair in your car. She brought a chair, so at least I was sitting. But obviously she kind of knew the pace you were at, and like I did too, but she's a coach, so she knew more probably where she thought I'd finish than I even was thought about. And this was another time where there was no time at the Whiskey Road one aid station. Mm-hmm. So she was like, oh, like 10 minutes he's gonna come in. 10 minutes came by, he didn't come in. Oh no, he's got like the next 5, whatever. So she like really, had an idea when she thought you were coming in and you weren't coming in. So I started like definitely freaking out. I'm like holding it in on the inside because I don't want to like, if I was alone, I would have been crying probably. Because I'm like, he hit his head, he's on the ground somewhere. Like, and obviously the fact that the Whiskey Road one wasn't there. Whiskey Girl, Whiskey Road. I keep saying that.
Whiskey Girl. Well, Whiskey Road is the thing. The aid station calls it Whiskey Girl aid station.
Okay, so road. The fact that the time wasn't there for that, I'm like, oh my god, did he not even get to that point yet? Yeah. Like, what is going on? So I'm definitely freaking out. So that, and the end, was probably the happiest I was to see you come through. Yeah. So when you came through, we were both like cheering, standing up, like extremely excited. And I don't know if we do have a video of that, of you coming in. I don't know if it was still your mind or whatever, but you didn't even notice us when you came through. Do you remember this? No. I think it's on video. We have it on video. If we do, you should clip it in here.
Okay. Yeah! There he is!
But we were right there, right at the entrance, and you were kind of like, oh, like we were right here and you didn't even notice us. I think you were so still in your head, or I don't know what, if you even remember, like in that moment, but you did not even notice us. And we were maybe 10 feet away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, so then I came in and then you guys kind of got me out of it. So the first thing was, I don't know if you guys could even tell that I was frustrated or like if I looked visibly frustrated.
I feel like I just said, I knew something was off by how you didn't even like see us. I like completely
But no, I mean like, did I look aggravated or like
I just
annoyed?
knew you were off. Yeah.
Okay, but you didn't know whether I was fatigued but you couldn't tell that like I was in my head.
No, you just seemed off. Yeah.
Okay. Because we were standing, you were getting the bottles ready, and then my coach was talking to me, and actually this I know I have a clip of, is she just started asking me, like, walk us through where you're at, like, walk us through what's going on. So I started just kind of, like, going through, like, a mental check of, like, where am I at, what's going on, which definitely helped because I think I was able to take a step back a little bit and be like, all right, my feet feel good, everything feels good. Like, what else? The switching of the shirt definitely changed. That helped a lot.
Helped you, right?
Yeah, and then I'm trying to think. I had to add more electrolytes too. Because that one, like, towards the, I forget what loop it was, my like calves are starting to tighten up. But then I put electrolytes in and that was fine.
Yep. Water. Just water,
please.
We got the whole crew here, little base crew.
But I think if
killing
I
it.
do corn chips and then maybe a ginger ale, and then I think I'll be fine.
Yep. This is it. Last loop. We're going out.
This is it.
Forgot to mention this on the lap too. My calves started getting tight, but in my pack I had extra electrolytes. I'm like, I stopped, I filled up. So I mean, I'll put everything. So I went through all that stuff, and that's where I like it became more forefront of my mind what was going on. Instead of me being like so involved in my own head and just like living in that moment of like frustration, it kind of started to hit me where I was looking at myself and I'm like, I'm frustrated and this is hurting me. So I think I said that to you guys essentially. And you both basically said like, you're still running essentially. You're not walking. You're doing well.
You like looked good to both of us too. That was a big part of it. As much as I said you seemed off, like you didn't seem like I can't keep. Like you looked like okay, like you know what
physically.
I mean?
It was, you could tell mentally I was just aggravated probably then. And I remember saying like I was frustrated, and you both basically said that like you got one more lap left. You're still running. You're not walking. You're in good shape. Like just put it behind you. Go out and just like get the last lap done. I
did say to you, go one more. I don't know if you remember that.
No.
I did. Shout out to Nick Bear, but I did say it
I don't
to you.
remember.
You were like chugging Mountain Dew or something at that point, so you probably.
Oh yeah.
But I did say it.
Yeah. So I know I had some pretzels and Mountain Dew. And
yeah.
Yeah, it was ginger ale and corn chips, which is what I had the last time at that halfway mark. Ginger ale and corn chips and ginger ale, Mountain Dew and pretzels on that fourth lap. Went out and basically I'm like, this is it. Like this is my last lap. And though I knew that goal of being sub 10 was done, I was like, if I'm going to do this, like I came here to push myself. I came here to see what I'm capable of. I knew I could just easily like mosey along on and just like get through the race and bring it on in. And at that point, I'm like, aside from a major injury, something really hurting myself, like I'm gonna get in. Like this is gonna get done. I can muscle through this next whatever 11, 12 miles that loop was. So going through that first half of the lap, I was moving at a fairly good pace. To be honest, I don't remember what the pace was. And I was just like, all right, just keep pushing a little faster. I was feeling good. I was finally like, all right, I'm back. That lap's behind me. Let's just finish strong. Come and do what we came here to do. Get to the aid station. Had a little more ginger ale. And then I think a couple pretzels or tortilla chips or something like that. Just get more salt in and make sure my stomach was going to carry me through the end. So I'm getting ready to walk out of the aid station, and the guy who was running the aid station goes, "Does anybody want a shot?" So like, especially some of the people that were like doing the 100-miler, where like they were pacing the 100-miler people, were like they were having a shot or something because they were only running, let's say, maybe one loop with them, and they were enjoying themselves. So I was like, "Yeah, this is my last lap." I'm like, "I'll take a shot." So he's like, I got whiskey, I got this or whatever. So I took a shot, and everyone I told this to was like, "Oh, you must have got so drunk." Like honestly, I didn't feel it at all.
Yeah.
But it was like, as stupid as it sounds, in my head, it was like I went to like Viking mode. I'm like, I got like one lap. I'm like taking a shot. I'm like getting angry, and I'm just like pushing through and like going all out. In my head, I'm like, I'm literally just gonna try to like floor it and like red line to the end.
When you told me that when you came through, that you're like, "Oh, I did a shot of whiskey." I thought you were joking, and you're like, "No, I'm serious." I was like cracking up. Obviously, we're big whiskey bourbon drinkers, so I was like, I just felt like it made the whole race that you did that.
Yeah. So the first third on the way back, I was just like hauling ass. And a couple of people saw me too, and you could see a couple of people like that I guess I had crossed paths with before, like looking at me like, this kid's moving now. And I saw a couple of people that were like definitely running the 100-miler like within the top probably 3. I actually think I ran past the guy who won the 100-miler, if I remember correctly. But they were like, that's it, keep pushing, you got like, so I was getting more amped up. I got about the first third done, and now I'm like, kind of there was like that no man's land before like the hill, and my pace was starting to slow. I'm looking down, and I'm like, all right, I'm slowing up. I'm like, did I push myself a little too hard, too early? I however many more miles. And I'm slowing up, and that's where I was like, we'll get more into this in the future, but I mean, you had been there. First off, you had been there pretty much all day, and you're sitting out there, and I'm like, Christy's been out here all friggin' day. You've dealt with a lot through this training because I could not miss a single workout. I was very particular. I was working a lot. There was like crunch time every day, so we didn't have a lot of time together. So that was part of it. And then, you on a daily basis, like there's stuff that you go through mentally and things like that. And I see you go through that very, very often, and you're constantly pushing yourself to try to get better and get through certain things. And I've seen the effect it has on you on a daily basis and the struggles you can go through. That kind of started really clicking in my head. I'm like, if you can go through certain things every single day and have to like push yourself and all the, like, I have no excuse that over the next less than an hour, I can't like really push. So that, and we'll talk more about that in future podcasts, that was a huge driver. I'm like, I have no excuses. Like, I just have to like, I got to go out here and like lay it all on the line. You've done so much sport, me, and you go through a lot. So,
well, I'm happy I helped in some way.
Yes. So that carried me through, and then I got to the hill. And this is like one of those moments. I'm like going up the hill, and I wanted to walk so bad. And I'm like, I just got angry again. I'm just like, fuck this hill. Oh. And I'm literally verbally out loud saying, there were people around me too, so people heard me. But at that point, you really just don't care. I'm like, fuck this hill. I don't care. I'm still running, blah, blah, blah. I'm like getting myself all amped up, get to the top of the hill. And then the downhill was sketchier than the uphill. And I just like threw caution to the wind. Which, thinking back on it now, I'm like, it's kind of freaking stupid that I've gone all this way and now I'm flying down this hill with like all these rocks, all these potholes and everything. For really, like, the goal was to finish this. There was no reason that I had to go fast with the chance of like easily falling, slipping, breaking something. But in my head, I was like, even if I fell and broke something, well, I was going to finish anyway. So I was just like, I'm just going all out. So flying down this hill, sliding through the rocks and everything, like make it to the end, and now I'm like booking it. But now I'm getting to the section where there's all these roots. And as I'm running through, I trip. I hit one of these roots because I'm going fast, and I slam. Like, slam. I haven't felt like this in a long time because it was just, I was running fast, I was exhausted, and I couldn't even react. I hit and just, boom, straight to the ground. Forearm, knee, shoulder, luckily not my face. And now I'm like, I got dirt on me, I hit, and I'm like, I want to get up, and that one instinct, I'm like, God, like, you don't even want to get up at a point. And the minute I felt that, like, I don't want to get up, I stood up, and I just got angry again. I literally looked up at the sky, and I'm like, I remember saying out loud, I'm like, if you don't want me to finish this race, at this point, you better fucking kill me. I'm like, and I was thinking about the woman who fell and hit her head. I'm like, you could knock me out. I'm like verbally saying this out loud. I'm like, you can knock me out, and I promise I'm going to wake up, and I'm just going to finish the race. There's no stopping. Like, just either kill me if you don't want me to finish this, or just leave me alone. And because I got so angry, I just started hauling even faster. And I definitely did what I set out to do in that last lap. Like, I finished strong. Luckily, didn't trip again. And then coming into the chute, I will say there was that one woman who was in front of me, and I just felt like it would be such like an asshole move to like blow past her. Like, well, I'm literally coming into the finish line. There's no reason for me to haul past her. So I did slow up a little bit coming into the finish, which I would have liked to have like really pushed through, but I just didn't want to be an a-hole. But yeah, came into the finish. You were there. My sister, my brother-in-law were there, and my niece. And
which, thank God they were there, because if I was alone for that one, it probably would have been even worse, because this was like it, like you knew you were coming in. So they kept me very good company. We were chasing Eliana around. She was trying to run into the trails.
Yeah, my niece, yep.
And even what you were saying, though, how you were hauling booty, whatever you want to call it.
Hauling ass?
Yeah, I don't like to curse. I knew you probably were, but even Tommy, our brother-in-law, was funny. He was like, if I know him, he's going fast. He's not. He's gonna come in earlier than we think he is, and you did.
And like it's funny because you would think, and this was something I thought about after, like having run all day, having never pushed to this limit, like at this point it's now like over 10 hours of running. Like my legs were hurting. Like, do not get me wrong. Like my legs were throbbing sore. Like my ankles are starting to be sore. Like even my like upper back, my neck, my whole body was sore. But it was like, it just was weird. Like there was like this pain, but it was almost like it was just like not a factor at all. Like I don't even know how to explain it. Like I feel like everybody's gone through pain before, and you almost like you wince at it. You know what I mean? Like your ankle hurts and you're like limping on it, you're babying it, or like your wrist hurts and you're like gingerly like walking around. You're very aware of it. It was almost like I was aware of it. There was this pain and I was like sore and everything hurt, but it didn't actually affect me physically, which was it was a very weird experience to kind of see something like that. And like I've felt it before where I pushed through pain, but it was a little different to like really feel like I was like, I knew the pain was there, but it just wasn't a factor. But yeah, so came in, saw you guys. I was definitely like, I was zoning out. Like it was just I almost felt like now the race was done and my brain was just like, my brain took like a deep breath and didn't want to think about anything. Like I was just like spacing out, I felt like. And it actually felt great to just like be like, it's done, it's over. I don't have to think like there's no what's the next mile marker, what's my entry. Like it was just like done. So I can't even imagine people who do like Moab 250 what they feel like when they finish.
I was holding everything in not to like just break down and hysterically cry because at this moment there were so many people around the start finish area where like throughout the day there wasn't as many, so I was like holding it in because I get very embarrassed in front of other people. But when we were hugging, I was like, "Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry." Yeah,
and even I got a little emotional too. Like really, once I hugged you, it's just again, it was like thinking about everything you go through and like thinking about just everything that I put you through just to get to this point in the race, and then the feeling of just like again, like I worked so hard and it actually worked out, and like there was a lot of people who doubted that I could have did it through that point. And even before I committed to it, like, I mean, I remember sitting in my truck before I like wanted to sign up and like a huge part of me being like, is this even possible? Am I even going to be able to do this at first? So
that was
overwhelming emotion for sure. Like just like happiness. It's just like, wow.
It's a top 10 life moment for me. Watching you cross through.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, I don't know what I'd put this. I mean, it's definitely up there for me. Yeah. Trying to think what else from the finish. I mean,
one of my favorite parts was you, your sister, CJ, was like, we were all just standing in a circle. You know, you're like, you
half
just,
out of it, still
ran all day long. And you're like, she goes, all right, so what's next? And you were like, 100. Like so just like nonchalant, like wouldn't even think that you just ran 50 miles. You were like 100, and we all just started cracking up. I was like, I wish I had that on video because it was just like a perfect moment, like a typical, exactly what I would have thought you would answer.
I mean, you said what's next. I feel like that's the progression of things. I don't know. I mean, I felt good. I was walking around. I felt like I was zoned out. I mean, it was definitely, my legs were sore. But walking back to the car, I was fine. I carried my own backpack. It was like, I'll carry a backpack.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm fine.
You were, though, within like 5 minutes of us like standing around talking, you were like, all right, let's pack up the SHI team, get out of here. I was like, you were like ready to go. Yeah,
because I mean, it's just, I could have sat around. But
you wanted to go.
I wanted to eat some like regular food, and I actually left so quick I didn't even get my finisher stuff. So luckily I was able to reach out to the directors and they're going to mail it to me. But yeah, I literally just left. Got in the car. Luckily you drove home. I probably could have drove if I really wanted to. I don't think I would have been problem driving. It's not hard to drive, but
no, I think, but nice. your head is definitely
that probably not. That it wasn't like I probably we were
5 minutes away. We were pretty far.
Yeah, I probably should not have drove just because I was so spaced out, like zoning out and stuff like that. And then getting out of the car, that was the worst part having run and sat and getting out of that car was just like, I remember I'm like, just go ahead of me. Like, you go into the apartment.
And again, it was, because we had a good 35, I would say about 35-minute drive, 40-minute drive. We were sitting in traffic a little bit, too, on the way home. Mm-hmm. So you got, you were moving, and then, like, not moving at all, literally sitting in a car for almost 40 minutes. So I think that definitely was rough, too, for you to get up and get out.
Yeah. So, staggered in. Lay down, we got food, relaxing. The one big thing that stood out to me was like that first night of sleep was rough. Like I'm the type of person, like I sleep easily. Like I decide
through a tornado.
Yeah. Not even that, but I can just go to sleep instantly, like no problem. Like if I want to sleep, I can sleep. If I want to stay up, I stay up. And I was tossing and turning all night long. It was horrible. When I broke my back, my senior year of high school, very similar. I remember like tossing and turning through the night. It was very, very similar to that, where it was like no matter what I did, I'd fall asleep because I was exhausted. I'd wake right back up because my legs were just like boom, 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 throbbing. That I would just be like roll over, fall asleep, wake up, not fun. The second night of sleep, similar, just not as bad. Like I was able to sleep fairly well. It was just like discomfort.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, being like not able to sleep because your legs are just throbbing.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, no major injuries. I mean, my feet were like great. Mm-hmm. Like my feet, I had maybe like 2 little blisters that didn't even like need to be popped. They just was like just a little like light, like loose skin that it's now I didn't even pop them. They just went away. I have the one toenail that's gonna fall off, but that was from training. I stubbed my toe really bad on like one of the weeks of training, and that toe had been black, so it wasn't like it was from the actual run. Other than that, all my toes were fine. My Achilles tendons killing me. My ankles were super sore. No real plantar fasciitis though. I think I did a good job of rolling the arches of my foot out a lot. And my legs felt sore, but that was no injury soreness. Mm-hmm. Hips and back. But ironically, I saw this today when I was at PT talking to Dave. Shout out to him for helping me get through the taper weekend and really recovering after. But the worst part of everything, and this happened a little bit when we were down in Disney, was I was getting like this nerve pain from my neck down my back. And I think it was just from running with a pack and like probably poor form and whatever. That's been the worst part of the recovery, is like dealing with that, like this like nerve pain in my neck. Everything else just is like normal soreness. So really, really surprised. And I think that was, looking back on this whole endeavor, the major concern I had was injury. Big things I always worried about was like torn Achilles, torn hamstring. Those are like the 2 things in my head that I was just like, that could put me out. So to get through that whole thing with no major injury at all and just overall soreness was like, I was really happy, because that was always lurking in my mind.
Yeah.
What about you? Anything from the recovery that stood out?
Not really. I feel like you didn't seem like you just ran an ultra marathon to me ever. You really didn't. Like, to be honest, I think like the first couple of days you seemed like, you
sluggish,
a little sluggish, but like that was it. I didn't feel like, I didn't notice anything. Like, you didn't look like you were in pain. You didn't, it was really just like you said, probably the first 2 days sleep-wise, and that was really it. So yeah. I was pretty surprised, to be honest. I mean, not totally surprised. Like, I didn't think you were going to be like what our brother-in-law John thought you were going to. He's like, send me videos of him walking the next day. Like, that you weren't going to be able to walk. But
see, it's funny is I thought that was going to be the case. I thought like after the race, I thought like getting out of that car, I'm like, I'm on crutches for the next day. I thought I was like going to be hobbling. I was even concerned going back to work on Monday how I was going to be just walking into work. So for me, I thought I was going to be like hobbling. But Yeah, no, I mean,
You clearly do the right thing with your recovery and PT, everything. So
so
it definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, and those recovery boots that you got me, I mean, they pushed a lot of that lactic acid out. It was like I'd wear those, and then for the next hour, I felt like I could move around like much more comfortable. So doing those and wearing those a lot over the next couple of days, like I think it definitely like forced a lot of that lactic acid out of my legs, which helped. That
was my favorite part of recovery. You sitting with those boots on and drinking a pumpkin beer. We were just probably just relaxing together.
Yeah, I mean, we hadn't really relaxed together. We felt like it was just like, oh, we have nothing to do today.
Yeah.
For a while, and I hadn't drank, and
we both didn't. I guess because I'm like, I don't know. We only really do for home together, or we go,
we go out. I normally drive, so I'll have like one or two.
But we both haven't since we went away. Really.
Yeah, it was September. So it was nice to actually relax. Sit down and I enjoy pumpkin beer. So I was drinking some beers and it was good. Good. Nice to go from hectic every single day. Feel like it was just move one thing to the other. Every minute mattered from every day for almost 8 weeks to just get everything crunched in to it's done, it's accomplished, and now I could just breathe for a little bit.
Yeah.
As for what's next, so I mean,
this is an announcement that I don't know.
No. Well, so it was funny. I was at physical therapy today. I was talking to Dave at Performax, and again, huge shout out to him for everything he does. But so he classic question of what's next. I definitely miss triathlons, and I definitely want to get back into especially half Ironmans because I was liking the feeling of getting fast with those. It wasn't so much this endurance event of getting through it as much as how fast can I do it. So I was starting to really enjoy that. Full Ironman's definitely on the horizon at some point. But yeah, for now, I think it's going to be more run focused. Talk to my coaches. I'm definitely doing 100 next year. That's 100% happening.
So we will have our all day and next day crew, like we spoke about.
What?
I'm saying how my parents said we would have made it a whole thing. Oh yeah, they'll be part of the crew.
Yeah, so we'll have a real crew. But no, so I think probably going to end up doing the Tesla, just because it's in my backyard and it's just easier to get something like that done, and versus traveling and going to all these different races. So that's probably going to be the race for the 100. And then other than that, I think the big focus for me personally is, I talked about this with my coach, I have a tendency of going balls to the wall. And then if I don't have something set up for me, specifically bigger goals, I start to just slack off and I don't push myself as much and I get frustrated. So
the in-between?
The in-betweens. Yeah, the lulls, if I don't have something I'm really pushing towards it, I just kind of get to my own head. But with that being said, the main focus for this is now going to be, I really, really want to try to maintain more consistency. So definitely want to work on getting my speed back. Definitely want to try to keep up the endurance, especially I've worked so hard to build up this mileage to keep that comfort in the higher mileage area. Get back on the bike, start riding again, start working some miles there, and get back in the water too. So get just kind of overall fitness back in place where I feel good on the bike, good in the swim, fast on the run, still long in the run. And lifting is something I'm always doing and feel great about, and make sure I maintain. So really just kind of keeping that broad spectrum fitness level in all areas. And really I think it's used this time to build that base level fitness, so then whenever I decide what the next endeavor is, I'm working with a better baseline. And it's not so much of, let's just get through this. It's I have a more serious goal, maybe a time or something like that. So I guess that's the future plan. What about you? Anything?
I want to get into some kind of racing. I know we've talked about it for a while. I just don't really know what. Obviously, I've been leisure running for pretty long now.
Basically, since COVID started.
Yeah. So maybe something with running. Continue to be what do they call me in the Ironman world? A Sherpa. I will always continue to be a Sherpa.
There's no reason you can't do your own, though.
Yeah, but no, maybe something with running. I think mentally is my biggest thing though. Working on
Yeah.
my mental health and taking a lot from what you do. That's probably my main focus.
Yeah. Well, this was the first episode. Like we said, this is kind of just where we're going to start. If you have any suggestions on things that you'd like to see, hear about, whether it's us, I definitely plan on getting other people on this and getting a chance for us to interview some people and talk to some people about different endeavors and things going on with them. Figure probably do some product reviews of some of the things I'm using. I just get to share a little bit of everything about really kind of just this hybrid lifestyle of lifting, running, triathlon, mindset, which is a huge thing. I'm a huge component for. You getting a chance to share all that stuff. Maybe Kona getting a chance to chime in and tell the world about his life.
And I feel like a big part too, like just lifestyle that this also isn't like it's a huge part of our lives, but like we're also like you said, we still like drink a beer on a Saturday night, and like it's not like
we're not professionals,
right? We're like anybody out there, if they work as hard as you could, go out and do something like this.
100%.
I think that's a big part of what this is all about.
Yeah. So again, any suggestions, what you guys like to see, please let us know. So hope you enjoyed the first episode, and that's all we got. What do you got? Anything else?
Have a magical day.
Stay disciplined.